Hey there, welcome to another 2-minute tip that I can't ever seem to get in 2 minutes. I'm Rob Cohee, Industry Solution Evangelist for Autodesk, and the guy that you're about to see in the lower right hand corner of your screen, don't stare at him. It's not good. Alright, so it's time to have a little bit of fun with the new laptop. I got a webcam on the new laptop, so I figured this is a good way to do maybe a 2-minute tip. The one I'm thinking about here is how I set up my interface with Inventor. It's just like any other tool. You should probably customize it for your wants and your tendencies and such, and I'm going to show you real quick how I have mine set up. So first thing in your application options is I always go through here and change my username. This is going to default to your login profile name, so you know, Cohee R doesn't really mean anything when I put it on a drawing, so I changed that to my name. Second thing that I change here in the General tab is I go down to the Select Other delay. Now, a lot of people don't know what that Select Other delay is. When you're using Inventor and the green arrow to the left and the green arrow to the right and that little green dot in the middle comes up, that's your Select Other. It allows you to cycle through available selection sets. By default, it's set to 1 second. I turn it down to about 0.6 so I don't have to wait. Typically, when I need to use a Select Other, I know exactly where I want to point, and I don't want to wait that additional second. Now, a couple other things that I've done, and you'll see a lot of us use a gray background, but it's not the exact gray background that you need with the color scheme. So there's a workaround to get the colors that you want and the background that you want. And here's what I do. With the high contrast, if you go to gradient, you get that nice gray background that I like, but I don't like the colors that come with high contrast gradient. So what I've done was I use high contrast gradient, and then I take a picture of the background, that gradient image. And then I go to winter day and I'll change it to a background image and link it to my high contrast image that I saved off so that I can have the right color scheme and background that I want. So a little trick there that I like to use. Secondly, on the Sketch tab, these grid lines here, if you're still using grid lines, get off of AutoCAD R10, please. Turn those off. Those grid lines really aren't doing you any good. Really what you need to know is reference to 0, and where you can do that is have it auto project the part origin when you create a sketch. Now secondly, and I know that's going to be a little controversial, not everybody's going to like that, but you know, give it a shot, see if it'll work for you. Again, this is one of the things where you want to customize your own tool, so not every way is going to be right for everybody, but just know that the option is out there. Now the other thing that I do is I turn off have it create a sketch whenever you create a new part. What that does is that forces me to make sure that I'm on the right work plane when I start all my sketches. So if you've noticed, when you bring in maybe a part from somebody else and you bring it into an assembly and it's not oriented correct with the world or correct with the rest of your assembly, that's why they may or may not have oriented their part relative to the plane that they should have started their sketch on. So and then last but not least, on the assembly page, I don't like that little beep that comes up. Just personal preference. Guys who coded it, you know, don't throw anything at me. It's just a personal preference. So here's where you can turn that off. Okay. And then another option that a lot of people turn off, and I had turned off at one point in time, was this enable associative edge loop geometry projection during in-place modeling. Now that long description is essentially, when you're in assembly and you're modeling a part within the context of the assembly and you use project geometry from one part to another, when you use project geometry, by having this enabled, it automatically makes that projected geometry adaptive. If you turn that off, it's not automatically adaptive. So again, depending on your preference when using an activity, you might want to determine whether or not you want that on or off. So now where that gives me then, when I go and create a new part file, you can see that I get my nice gradient background that I talked about, but I'm still getting the color scheme that I want in my sketch objects. And you can modify those, I understand, but this is just a little bit easier for me. So by having it not create a sketch on part creation, again, it forces me to go to an isometric view and determine then which of my origin planes I'm going to use to start my sketch. So I'll start a new sketch here and take a look at that. There's my 0, 0. So if I want to, I don't know, create just a real quick profile here that I'll revolve around, you can see that I know where my reference to 0 is, and that way I have the default planes going through right through the middle of my part by having it automatically project that 0, 0 as sketch geometry, so I can actually physically constrain to it. So again, not much complex geometry here, just kind of more of the settings, and I wanted to play with my new webcam. So there's your 2-minute tip, and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon. I warned you not to stare, but you did it anyway. So I hope you got a lot out of that one. Follow me on Twitter if you're tweeting, because if I'm not tweeting, I ain't eating, according to my boss. See you next time.